The blue and red lights were flashing in my backyard when I realized just how far things had spiraled, and there I was standing in my own grass in my own backyard with Officer Thompson at my pool gate, notepad out, and a soaking wet teenager pointing at me like I was the villain in his made-for-TV drama. The kid's voice was cracking with this pitiful kind of distress fake as a $3 bill. As he claimed, I'd locked him out, illegally threatened him the works. But I could see it in Officer Thompson's eyes, you know. Something about the story wasn't tracking, not even a little, and I had the receipts to prove it. Let me back up a sec, because this whole thing didn't start with sirens. It started with a clipboard. 3 weeks earlier, my life was so boring it was practically a screensaver. I'm David. I'd lived in Maple Ridge for 5 years. Nice neighborhood, nothing wild ever happened, which is exactly how I liked it. That is, until the HOA voted in a new president, Karen Piton, my next-door neighbor. From day one, she acted like she'd just been handed the keys to the city, marching up and down the sidewalks every morning with that clipboard hunting for violations like it was her personal Easter egg hunt. People warned me, oh, Karen takes this stuff seriously, but honestly, I had no idea. My backyard pool was my happy place, the one spot I could count on to help me forget about spreadsheets and the little aggravations of working at an accounting firm. I'd get home, take a swim, maybe grill some burgers, decompress. The folks who lived next door before Karen, totally normal, always respected the fence. But not her. Karen seemed to think HOA president meant emperor of everyone's property, and suddenly I started noticing weird little comments, how lovely the pool area looked, how it was such a shame only one family got to use it, how maybe the whole neighborhood should have shared access to amenities like mine. The first big red flag. Came home one Saturday, pool gate wide open. At first I figured, okay, maybe I forgot to latch it, but when I checked my security cams there, it was plain as day. Karen's son Tyler and 3 of his knucklehead friends just making themselves at home, splashing around for 2 hours, leaving wet towels on my deck chairs, empty soda cans on the steps. It was like a pool party nobody bothered inviting me to. I walked next door, tried to stay civil, knocked on Karen's door. She answered with this smile that looked glued on, the kind of smile you put on for church, but never for your own family. I showed her the screenshots, let her see exactly what her kid and his friends had been up to. She barely glanced before waving it off, launching into that, well, as HOA president, I have shared access rights to all exterior amenities, including your pool, and I swear I nearly laughed in her face. She actually believed being president gave her the right to trespass. I tried explaining calmly even that my pool was on my private property. It wasn't a shared HOA thing, but she just kept smiling that irritating little smile and said maybe I ought to read the bylaws. Then she shut the door in my face. Well, that was it for me. That night, I sat down and combed through every inch of our HOA bylaws, highlighted every line that made it clear all pools, patios, and backyard stuff belonged to the homeowner, period. I printed out the pages, underlined the parts about private property. Next morning, I got a keypad lock installed on my pool gate, brand new, and set a code only I would know. Put up a sign, private property. No trespassing. Violators will be prosecuted. If Karen wanted to play games, I was ready to play hardball. 2 days of peace, just enough time to make me think the drama was over. Then it was a Tuesday headache pounding after a long day when I pulled in and heard yelling from the backyard. Sure enough, there was Tyler halfway over my fence, one leg flailing as he tried to climb down into my yard. He saw me, and get this, he didn't even look embarrassed. He just started yelling about how I had no right to keep him out, that his mom said he could swim whenever he wanted. I told him as evenly as I could to get off my fence and leave my property, and the kid actually argued, claimed I was discriminating against him, that I was breaking HOA rules. I pulled out my phone, said if he wasn't gone in 10 seconds, I'd call the cops. He scrambled back over, yelling that I'd regret it, and took off. I thought, okay, that's the end. 20 minutes later, sirens. 2 cops at my door, Officer Thompson and his partner Rodriguez. Thompson's tall, kind eyes looked more tired than mad. He explained someone had called 911, said I was threatening and imprisoning a minor. My jaw hit the floor. I invited them in, told them everything, showed them the security footage, the bylaws, the new footage of Tyler climbing my fence. They watched it all, nodding, taking notes. Just as I was finishing, we all heard shouting outside, Karen in full meltdown, charging in without knocking, accusing me of child endangerment, threatening to sue, her voice at a pitch that would make dogs bark. Officer Thompson shut her down with a wave, laid out the facts. Not only had Tyler trespassed, but he'd also made a false 911 call, which is a serious crime. Karen's face went white like a ghost seeing daylight. Tyler got hauled over, and when Rodriguez explained how serious false emergency calls were, that kid's tough act just evaporated. He looked so much smaller suddenly, and I could see he was scared. Thompson asked if I wanted to press charges. For a second I was tempted, really tempted, but then I saw how shaken Tyler was. I said a formal warning would do, but if anything happened again, I'd go straight to court. Cops gave Tyler an official warning, made it crystal clear next time he'd be arrested, no questions. Karen tried to keep arguing, but Thompson didn't have time for it and reminded her that HOA positions didn't mean you could break the law. Before leaving, Thompson pulled me aside and told me it was a good thing I had everything documented. Also mentioned false 911 calls could cost up to $5,000 and even jail time. Said it loud enough that Karen and Tyler definitely heard. 3 weeks passed, mostly quiet, and then I found an envelope in my mailbox inside a letter from Tyler. Handwriting stiff and careful, apologizing for everything, promising it wouldn't happen again. You could tell Karen was standing over him while he wrote it. But Karen wasn't even close to finished. She filed a formal complaint with the HOA board, claimed I was creating a hostile environment, demanded the board force me to give pool access to HOA members, and my favorite, suggested I should be fined for installing the lock without approval. The board meeting was the next Thursday. I came loaded for bare copies of bylaws, the police report, photos of the new signs, but it turns out I wasn't the only one Karen had ticked off. She started reading her complaint, and suddenly board members were pushing back. George, the treasurer, asked where in the bylaws it said she had pool access. Karen flipped through papers, getting more and more flustered. Then Janet, another board member, brought up how Karen had tried using her HOA position to get discounts at local stores. Next thing I knew, homeowners were standing up telling stories of Karen demanding keys to sheds, dictating what flowers people could plant, even inspecting backyards without permission. When it came time to vote on Karen's complaint against me, it wasn't even close, unanimously rejected. Then George made a motion for a vote of no confidence. Seconded immediately. Karen's face went purple. They took the vote, 7-1. Only Karen voted for herself. That gavel came down, and just like that, she was out. She shrieked, stormed out, knocked over a water pitcher on her way, called us all jealous losers who couldn't recognize true leadership. But the final twist. After she was removed, the board started digging through the HOA's finances. Turns out Karen had been using the HOA credit card for all kinds of personal stuff improvements that were really just groceries, clothes, God knows what else. $8,000 in unauthorized charges. The board voted to press charges for embezzlement. 2 weeks later, the cops showed up at her door with a warrant. Every curtain on the block was twitching, people peeking out, watching her get led away in handcuffs. She was charged with felony embezzlement, facing up to 5 years and $25,000 in fines, and she screamed that it was all my fault, that none of this would have happened if I just let her son swim in my pool. Yeah, that happened. So now whenever I sit by my pool, I think about how one clipboard happy neighbor turned my sanctuary into a circus. And in the end, justice had a way of cannonballing right back at her. But honestly, part of me wonders, do you think she learned anything? Or is she just plotting her next big power trip somewhere else? I'd love to know what you think. Was I right to stand my ground, or did it all go too far? Let me know in the comments, because in this neighborhood, apparently there's never just one side to any story.